our political discourse, both the kind that we see on TV and the kind that we experience among each other, it did not used to be this bad, and it does not have to be this way.
House Speaker Paul Ryan criticizing the ugliness of 2016 politics, veiled rebuke there maybe of Donald Trump, maybe others. We're back now with our panel, and Kirsten, I'll start with you because Donald Trump has made 100% denial that he had anything to do with the Inquirer story. You have some other potential theories.
Well, it's possible that he had something to do with it, but I can tell you that the people, well, first of all, I'll say the Daily Beast reported that it was shopped around, at least to a lot of reporters, by somebody who was a pro-Rubio person. I also happen to know that one of the people that was shopping the story around very aggressively is somebody who's completely anti-Trump. Now, he's anti-Cruz also, but it's, you know, it's an anti-Trump, anti-Cruz, so it's not a person who is in any way supportive of Donald Trump. So this has been something that's been repeated, but we don't really know who was responsible for it getting to the Inquirer, but the story has been out there for months, I mean, among reporters.
And again, there's nothing equivocal. I mean, everything in the article uses the word supposed, rumor, alleged. So, and two of the women who had their faces blurred out have come forward to publicly say absolutely not. Right. So we'll watch for more on that. Meanwhile, a lot of folks are feeling the burn out there because last night he won 3 states, Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington State, resoundingly. I mean, they weren't even close, Juan.
Well, actually, I think this is the beginning of the end for Bernie Sanders. I think this may be
the 3 wins are the beginning of the end. Oh, okay.
Look, he's nowhere near. He didn't actually make any great strides in terms of closing the gap. But not substantially in a way that you would say, oh, now he's a threat to win the Democratic Party nomination. He is hoping for a debate in New York State and saying that he's going to ratchet up his critique of Hillary Clinton going into New York State, where she's heavily favored, having been the senator from New York. But you see Democratic senators calling for him to get out. President Obama, in a closed session with donors, is reported to have said it's time to bring the party together. I think the Democrats understand they need to play nice with Bernie, though. I think it's a third of voters in a Wall Street Journal poll, and a third of Bernie Sanders supporters in a Wall Street Journal poll said they would not support Hillary Clinton. They just want Bernie Sanders. They want that strong left-wing populist voice. So they're going to have to find out. Obviously, he gets a speaking slot at the convention. Does he become vice president? No, I don't think so. I think, boy, Republican ad makers would be in heaven with ads against the socialist Bernie Sanders.
Self-admitted.
Right.
Self-described.
So I think that what you get here is a situation where they're going to have to, the Democratic Party is going to have to buy into Bernie Sanders in order to get him to buy into Hillary, to bring those voters that Hillary's going to need, because she's not setting the campaign trail on fire. He's the one doing it for the Democrats, and they need that energy going into November.
Well, and Jason, last night he made this very impassioned plea with cheering thousands there with him, saying he sees a path forward, that he's got momentum, if nothing else. And the gap is really, we're not talking hundreds and hundreds of, I mean, but we've got the issue of the superdelegates as well. But he says he's not going away.
She has a significant lead among the delegates. That's the bottom line. In fact, her lead among the delegates is much larger than Obama's lead with her was back in 08. It is quite significant. So Bernie Sanders spends a significant amount of his time these days trying to justify continuing in the race. And Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, wants to pivot to a general election campaign. You see her trying to move on, rarely even mentioning him in her speeches these days. So there's some tension there, but I don't see a path forward for Bernie other than making some demands at the convention.
All right, and George, obviously we still have very much a battle on the GOP side. Highly possible that nobody gets to the convention with the 1237. Somebody may. But in the meantime, we have some new polling out that shows when you look at the 3 remaining contenders head-to-head against either Hillary or Bernie, this is what you get. John Kasich at the top of the list. When you put him head-to-head with Hillary Clinton, he's ahead of her by 11 points, Cruz up by 3 points, and Clinton bests Trump by 1 point. Same thing with Sanders. Kasich is the only GOP contender that comes out ahead in that one. Cruz and Trump both losing to Sanders at this point. What does it say to you about the overall race?
First of all, we know that John Kasich cannot get to the convention with a majority of the delegates. Cruz has to win something like 87%, which will not happen. Donald Trump has to win 50-some%. That probably won't happen. So we're really looking at a convention in which Mr. Cruz will be heavily dependent on, dare I say it, the Washington cartel, which will try and rescue themselves and the party from Donald Trump. So the question is, who's preparing best for the convention right now? And I think at this point, I would have to say it's Cruz. Football coach Paul Bear Bryant of Alabama said, what matters isn't the will to win. What really matters is the will to prepare to win. And it's who's preparing for a contested convention now that matters most. And clearly, it seems to me, it's the Cruz campaign.
But does John Kasich have a third or fourth ballot argument here when he's the one who head-to-head against these nominees on the Democratic side? That's going to be his argument.
That will be his argument, but others will make it. That is Ryan and others who names of people not even in this race. Governor Walker of Wisconsin has suggested that in a contested convention, you could go to someone who didn't enter the lists at all, and that's particularly the case with John Kasich because he's run hard and he's run unsuccessfully almost everywhere except Ohio.
And we have in Wisconsin, there's not a lot of polling there. It's tough, but it looks like Kasich has a significant double-digit portion of what we're seeing in the polling there. Jason, how tough is that for Cruz?
Kasich, I don't see a path. I mean, he's getting a lot of.
But Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, places where he's polling well.
He could. That's where he does well. That's the Midwestern states, the Rust Belt. That's where Kasich has done well. He just doesn't have the time or the amount of delegates left in the remaining contest to get there. And I even with a contested convention, George, it's hard for me to see the justification for going with someone other than Trump who was running, who goes to the convention with fewer delegates than Trump had. I mean, why turn to a Cruz, a Kasich, anyone who had less support than Donald Trump going to the convention versus an outsider?
Let me answer that.
Like a Paul Ryan or something.
Let me answer that question. I will say that, for the Republican Party, there is great need to preserve their majority in the Senate, a concern about preserving even a narrowing lead of the majority in the House, and I think Donald Trump would be catastrophic for that. Kasich, by the way, doing better in Pennsylvania and these states, but nowhere near what he needs. And finally, Reince Priebus at the RNC getting ready for that convention. But Trump saying he's trying to undermine him, Priebus saying, I'm just trying to make sure we know the rules of the road as we go towards a likely convention, open convention.
But there are a lot of people that think the voters actually choose the candidate still. So there might be people who have a problem with that.
The conventions are going to be so much fun. You know that's true. All right, panel, we got to take a break here.